So into the action we go once again here at Whilton Mill for the fourth round of the 2025 UK Kart Series. It's the Honda Cadet 200 final. They will bring their way to the starting grid. Margaris Kovečkis is in pole position for this one ahead of Luke McGall. Then Ronnie Jones, the O-plate, in front of Elliot Borg. Shaylen Srikantan is in front of Francesco De Caro. Then Nikita Roberts and Finley Thursfield from Alistair Saunders and Harry Search. Ollie Knox is in front of Bradley Sutton. Then Daniel Jad and David Chiokoaka. Marcel Markovic and Alfredo Mengerson. And then we have Austin Dowell, Louis Dawson, Ted Fry, Zaya Ono, and then Jacob Jones, Seth Wright, Oscar Wills, Ada Wright, and Phoebe Shelton. 25 drivers in Honda Cadet 200 this week at Whilton Mill, the championship where people can drop in and drop out as they need to, depending on their regional persuasion. But of course, not everybody is able to do an entire season of racing, so the UK Kart Series gives a great opportunity for drivers to test themselves up against the best in that category across the entirety of the season. A lot of the local drivers giving themselves a chance here in the UK Kart Series, and there's quite a few decent names here. Margaris Kovečkis, Ronnie Jones, the O-plate of course, Elliot Borg, Shaylen Srikantan, all drivers that have a great standing in Honda 200, and of course Luke McGall, there on the front row of the grid. He's a good contender for the win this time, as the last couple of drivers, Jacob Jones there and Oscar Wills and Phoebe Shelton, just getting themselves into their final grid positions. So we're ready for the race to get underway. 10 minutes plus the additional lap. They're waiting for the green flag to drop. When it does, we're racing at Whilton Mill. And it's a good start from Kovečkis and McGall. They're going to go side by side to the first corner. And who is just going to edge it? There's a little bit of contact between them as they go through Crook and Oblivion. Neither driver was prepared to give best there as they worked their way up to Christmas for the first time. A lot of nudging as they go through. Oh, and a spin, unfortunately, on the first lap. That looked like Shaylen Srikantan, I think, going around. So very unfortunate indeed. But when you've got so many determined racers trying to get through turn one at the same time, it is very difficult to predict who's going to get the best of it. But Luke McGall does indeed lead the race here in front of Margaris Kovečkis. And then I believe in third place, I think that's Elliot Borg. So they've come through, but obviously the big spin on the first lap, I do believe that was Shaylen Srikantan who spun out there on the first lap. So it is indeed Elliot Borg who runs in third position behind Margaris Kovečkis, but Luke McGall has been able to jump Kovečkis through the first chicane and now leads the race on the way through the end of the final, end of the first lap, I should say. So McGall, Kovečkis, Borg, De Caro, then Nikita Roberts in front of Finley Thursfield, but it was indeed Shaylen Srikantan who spun off there at the Christmas hairpin. Here's the move from Kovečkis, down on the inside. Well, no waiting around. He gets the move then on Luke McGall, deciding he doesn't want to run in second place in this one. So Margaris Kovečkis manages to work his way into the lead of this race. So Elliot Borg still sat there in third position. Francesco De Caro not far away there in P4. What a start though from Nikita Roberts, straight up into fifth position. She has been threatening a victory in a Honda Cadet 200 final in 2025 all season long. She can't be too far away from it now. But certainly here at Whilton Mill, a circuit she's got decent experience of. She's going to need to get past Francesco De Caro first, and that's not going to be easy. De Caro is a very difficult driver to overtake. He knows exactly where to place the kart to keep the others out of harm's way. And indeed, De Caro has actually defended a little there from Roberts, but has also started to push further forward. So there is actually a warning for contact for Francesco De Caro. So that could actually help out Nikita Roberts if a penalty does come the way of Francesco De Caro. But certainly for the moment, it doesn't look as though it's going to. Ada Wright and Phoebe Shelton, as well as Oscar Wills, have already been passed by the recovering Shaylen Srikantan. So we'll have to see how far Shaylen can go through the field. But certainly 21st on lap 2 after being 24th and last at the end of the first lap. So good progress there from Shaylen Srikantan, who is trying to recover his position. So still they go through. Kovečkis leads McGall and Borg. Top three, no problems. De Caro is trying to hang close to the rear bumper of Elliot Borg in the hope that there's a move or two on the cards. A little bit of a twitch there from the 35 of Luke McGall, having got ahead of Kovečkis. He's now really struggling to stay with him as a little bit of daylight opens up between Kovečkis and McGall. So McGall could really use a little bit of support here from Elliot Borg and Francesco De Caro. There's Nikita Roberts in the background, the 633 Squadron as it is, that particular kart. We love the look of Nikita Roberts' machine. Still running P5. Is Elliot Borg going to be able to assist Luke McGall enough to get back on terms with Kovečkis, or can Kovečkis just simply disappear and run away with this? That's the danger in these races. Once you've got one driver who's out in front, the onus is on the guys in second, third, fourth. Stop racing each other, team up and work together in the hope that you can all make the progress. Little bit of a tight moment there, just going into the double left. One or two of the drivers trying to make a cheeky move or two. You see, this is the problem now for Elliot Bork. If he's not able to work with Luke McGall to go after Kvetkis, then the only race they're in is for second place, because that gap has already opened up to a second in just 2 laps. So you've got to be so careful now. If you are Elliot Bork, do you stay and play, or do you go for the move yourself and try and get in a second position? Well, McGall is resisting. Oh, still resisting. They bang wheels and run off the road. Oh, Elliot Bork drifts wide. That's enough for Francesco Di Caro to get through. Well, that was a tricky one because McGall was not willing to play ball, but Elliot Bork should have been a little bit more confident on the brakes going into Christmas if he had just believed that the move was on, because it was on. If he'd just had a little bit more faith in himself, he would have been able to make that move without any contact at all from Luke McGall. As it was, Elliot Bork was the one who got spat out to the roadside there. Just a little bit more confidence and a little bit more self-belief, and that would have been an easy pass on Elliot Bork, on Luke McGall, sorry. And now Francesco Di Caro might get the chance to show him how it's done. Look, Luke McGall has the audacity to gesture to Di Caro. Look, let's go and get Kvetkis. I think Di Caro is sitting there in the car going, look, mate, you haven't got the pace to go after Kvetkis. Let me get past you. I'll show you how it's done. He's going to try and work with him first of all for the sake of argument. But I don't think he's going to have a lot here in the bag, because look, 2.1 seconds is now the gap between Kvetkis and McGall. I think Di Caro is probably thinking, look, there's no way we can catch Margaris Kvetkis if you're the man playing the leader. I'm going to take over the Pied Piper of Hamlin myself, thanks very much, and I'll take on the role. So Elliot Bork is still in front of Nikita Roberts, but not by much, because a little bit of a trip off into the grass has certainly slowed his pace down considerably. Up to the toe of the boot. And McGall and Di Caro still very close together as they hop over the curves. Look, McGall is just being a little bit more forceful on the rotation of the steering wheel, and that's just slowing him up a little bit. It's costing him a tenth or two here and there, and that's enough really to give Francesco Di Caro real food for thought. I can probably go for the overtaking move now. Look, I don't really think, Luke, that you're the man to help me here for second place. I need to get past you. So that's what Di Caro is now trying to line himself up to do. Maybe into Ashby, he can get a chance. For the opportunity, he just can't quite find the move at the moment. He's got to wait a little bit longer for it to open up. This is a very tricky situation, a very tough scenario for Francesco Di Caro, because the longer he leaves this, the less likely it is he'll get a chance of the win. So very difficult situation then for the contenders, but certainly for Di Caro, this is frustrating. Sat behind Luke McGall, waiting for something to come his way, and at the moment he's not really getting what he wanted. Look, it's again really tight radius there on the steering from Luke McGall, and the back end turns out a little bit, and that's enough for Di Caro to basically have to come off the power. He's got his trajectory on the steering pretty much bang on, but McGall in front of him, he just gives him a little cause for hesitation, so that slows him up, and the gap has now opened up between Kvetkis and McGall to 2.7 seconds. It's just those little moments where McGall is still learning, still getting the job done here, but still learning as he goes. And it's just little moments where you're steering just a little bit too much input on some of these tighter hairpins. You can allow the kart to travel through without quite so much rotation on the wheel. And that's something that he will be taught by his mechanics and his engineers as he continues his journey, as he goes through. So there's a lot still to do and a lot that he's still working on at the moment, but the contenders are still pushing very hard indeed to try and make these things come their way. Right, that's Nikita Roberts, now has a bit of pressure coming from Ronnie Jones. So Ronnie Jones is trying to work his way through. The O-plate has now caught right up to Nikita Roberts. But an interesting situation for the drivers as they work through. Margaris Kvetkis leading Luke McGall, Francesco Di Caro. This is where Francesco Di Caro may get his shot on the inside line, really looking for a chance to get through. This is so frustrating. If you're Francesco Di Caro, you can see that Kvetkis out in front is starting to disappear. This is not what he needs at all. Onto the back straight. He now has a chance again as they go to the toe of the boot. You can see that there's some decent battles going on further back as well. We've got Bork, Roberts and Jones having a decent squabble over fourth place. That's going to develop in the next 30 seconds or so if it keeps going the way it is. And again, Di Caro just has to give himself that little bit of leeway to try and work his way onto the back of McGall, but he has to wait a moment, he has to hesitate just so that McGall can finish that tight radius through the hairpin bend. He's hoping for a chance to get through on the inside line up to Christmas, but Christmas is not really opening up for Francesco Di Caro at the moment. It's a little bit too early in the race and in the year for Christmas to come early for man in third position. Francesco De Caro out through Ashby, working the way up towards the double left. Here we go. This is the chance now, surely for De Caro. He's getting so frustrated. I think he's resigned to the fact that he's not really going to get the victory. He's only got second position really on his radius now. So we're trying to see if Luke McGall is going to have his opportunity to hold on to this second position. De Caro is still right there for third. But now we've got, Nikita Roberts under some serious pressure now from Ronnie Jones. The O-plate has caught right up to her. We've got 1 minute left on the clock. So looking at the lap times, I'd say we've only just about got 3 laps to go. Because they're just going to have a few seconds in hand here, I think, when the leader, Margaris Kavechkis, comes across the line. So here's the battle further back. This is Ollie Knox, Finley Thursfield and Alistair Saunders, I do believe, chasing after... that's Thursfield, Saunders and Search, who are after the kart in front of them. This is all getting a little bit squirrely. No, I was right the first time. It's Knox, Thursfield and Saunders, but they're going through the back marker there. They're passing, I think that's Phoebe Shelton. So they're making their way past Phoebe Shelton, who's been lapped. Oscar Wills and Zaya Ono have also had some difficulties in the race. Wills is out. Zaya Ono is out of the race as well, I do believe. So through they go, out of the final turn. Kavechkis goes into the last lap with 10 seconds to go. So we've got 2 laps to go, not 1 lap to go. McGall, De Caro and Bork working their way through. Robertson Jones still fairly close together. Knox, Thursfield, Saunders all close. Harry Search a little way in front of Daniel Zhao and Alfredo Mengensen. So Alfredo Mengensen is still there in 12th in front of David Chiocca, and then Marcej Markovic, and then Shaylin Srikanten. So Shaylin Srikanten, after spinning off on lap 1, is all the way up to P15 now, in front of Wright, Dawson, Fry, Dowell and Jacob Jones. So the time has run down to 0. That wasn't going to be hard on this lap, because when the leader came across the line, Margaris Kavechkis was only 10 seconds to go in the lap times. So all going well from his point of view. And so as he comes out of the boot now onto the main straight, this is going to be Margaris Kavechkis coming through for 1 lap remaining. Has the fastest lap of the race by about 3 to 4 tenths of a second over everybody else. Luke McGall is holding on here in front of Francesco De Caro, and he's actually been able to hold himself fairly carefully through this section of the race, so he's managed to build a tiny bit of a gap between himself and Francesco De Caro. He's made the tyres go a little bit longer. He may have been using a tighter radius on the steering wheel to go through a little bit more aggressively, but he's been able to look after tyres with it. He's not put the tyres too hard, so he's built a bit of a gap now in the closing laps of the race in front of De Caro, Bork, Roberts and Ronnie Jones. So that will work out well. It looks like the 7th place battle is getting a bit squirrely between Knox, Saunders and Thursfield. That might change before the finish line then, but certainly not for this man. Out in front, Margaris Kavechkis. He lost the lead initially to Luke McGall. He took it back again on lap number 2, and ever since then he has dominated. Margaris from him to take the victory. No worries at all on the shoulders of Margaris Kavechkis. Excellently done, brilliant display, very strong kart control from him. McGall second place in front of De Caro, and then Elliot Bork, Nikita Roberts. Ollie Knox is 7th in front of Harry Search, Finley Thursfield and Alistair Saunders. Top 10, and in 11th position, massive round of applause please for Shaylin Srikanten, who came through in 11th position, having started essentially in around 7th or 8th position on the grid, I think he was, and then spun off on the first lap down to the very back of the field and has recovered it all the way to 11th place. Well done to Shaylin Srikanten. That is a fantastic comeback to P11 under the circumstances. So there's your provisional result. Margaris Kavechkis takes the win in front of Luke McGall, Francesco De Caro and Elliot Bork. Nikita Roberts just hanging on to the top 5 in front of Ronnie Jones. Ollie Knox, Harry Search, Finley Thursfield and Alistair Saunders rounding out the top 10 ahead of the magnificent Shaylin Srikanten. P5 on the grid, dead last on the end of the opening lap, and still fought his way back to 11th place in front of Daniel Ziad, David Chiocca, Marcel Markovic, Alfredo Mengensen, and then Seth Wright, Louis Dawson, Austin Dowell, Ted Fry, Jacob Jones in 20th, and then Ada Wright in front of Phoebe Shelton. Just 2 retirements in the race, Oscar Wills and Zaya Ono. So that is all done and dusted then for the Honda Cadets 200 final. Next up, it's BWR and BWR Junior and the Formula Blues. They will have their final very shortly.